There we go. Accountability is the cornerstone of all financial reporting, and please don't forget this. It's in the GASB concept statement number 1, and accountability is what? Accountability to those who provide the revenues. Accountability arises from citizens' right to know. It imposes a duty on public officials to be accountable for raising monies and how they are spent. So apparently, what this implies, and I sound like a broken record, but it implies basically that if you are paying taxes, income taxes or property taxes or sales taxes, you want to know that that money is being used properly. That's what that means. And accountability is really the cornerstone of that itself. Now, this is an interesting situation, which is something called inter-period equity. And unfortunately, we have some real issues in this country about this. Let me give you an example. Think about the federal government. When you think about federal government finance and they borrow money to spend, and these obligations go out for years and years, and any time money is needed, people borrow. Do you think that's right? Okay, let me ask you this question. Would you like to borrow money or use money this year that's going to be received 5 years from now? Something wrong. There's something wrong with the concept of spending money that you don't have, right? And that deals with this issue of inter-period equity, which is what we try to do is we want to make sure that the money we raise this year is only used for paying our costs this year. Just think about this. If you are the CFO of a government organization, you could go crazy and just keep on borrowing money and just use it, right? And unfortunately, some of us do that personally, right? We borrow money but this whole, unfortunately at the federal government level, and I won't go into this because this would be like a whole class, we have intergenerational equity issue where, you know, all this debt which is outstanding, guess somebody has to pay it. It's not me. Guess who those people are? People 20 years from now will be paying for what we are spending today. Because the federal government has the ability to do what? Spend money which it does not have. Because what can it do? It can print money, literally. State governments are not allowed to do that. State governments have something called a balanced budget rule where you can only spend what you receive. But it doesn't mean that people, you know, come up with different tricks of the trade to get around it. And we'll talk about some of those things. But this is a very, very important issue, this inter-period equity, which is that the issue that you don't want to take current year costs and have them financed through future period itself. And as you see here, accountability is also the foundation for the federal government financial reporting. And just one quick note, by the way, and we'll talk about this as we go through this. Remember when I said to you, Governmental Accounting Standards Board, that they set the rules for governmental GAAP? The financial statements which we'll see in the second half of this class, interestingly enough, those rules are only used for preparing external financial statements, not for internal statements, which people are confused. Meaning if you prepare quarterly statements, you don't have to follow GASB rules? No. If you have financial statements which need to be audited? Yes. But federal government's standards are both for internal and external users. And again, we'll talk more about this as we're going through this, as we go through this through the semester itself. And these are some of the objectives of financial reporting for the federal government: budget integrity, operating performance, stewardship, adequacy of systems and controls. What you'll find is at the federal level, there's a little chart in the text which says objectives of financial reporting. And you'll see 3 different columns. One will be state and local government, one will be not-for-profits, and one will be federal government. The federal government has more in it than state and local government. So for instance, operating performance, that's usually not found in, at the state level itself. And not-for-profit entities, organizations, again, the objective is to provide services that's in the charter itself. You want to assess management, stewardship, and performance. By the way, what does that mean, assess management, stewardship, and performance? Let me give you an example. I give to the American Cancer Society. Now, I don't know if these are the numbers. And they spend 50% on administrative costs. How do you assess management, stewardship, and performance there? Is that good? Is that a good thing? Okay. See, these are just kind of intuitive things. You don't have to be an expert in the field. It's just like common sense, right? And that's what management stewardship is, things like that. How is the money being spent, right? And stewardship, would you want the person who leads the American Cancer Association making $1 million a year? Would you like to see that? That's another aspect, right, of management. Again, I'm just going through this very briefly right now, but we'll talk about this a little bit more. Okay, now let's talk about the general purpose external financial reporting. Let me explain this term to you. Government financial statements are prepared in 2 packages, literally. The book doesn't describe it, but I'm trying to make it simple for you. One is the minimum package, and one is the full package. The minimum package is called Minimum Requirement for General Purpose External Financial Reporting. The full package is called Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. So this is what's included in the, and we'll take a look at these statements, in the minimum requirements. Everybody aware of MD&A? Management Discussion and Analysis? Yeah, in governments they're required to prepare that. What is it? It tells you what's going on, what's happened during the year, how your revenues have come in, anything unusual that's happened. Now comes the tough part, and we'll talk about this in a moment. Government-wide financial statements and fund financial statements. And I haven't introduced this term to you yet, but governmental accounting is like, what's the other word sometimes people use? Fund accounting. And what you'll realize is that when financial statements are prepared in governments, remember I talked to you about accrual basis and this other basis called the modified accrual basis? Well, you can't have one set of statements which represent both. So what do you have to do? You have to prepare one set of statements on accrual basis and one set of statements on modified. Government-wide financial statements look like business type statements, and they are on full accrual basis. Those are on modified accrual basis, and we'll go through this. That's what this course is about, looking at all of that. Okay? So unlike a business where you prepare only one set of financial statements, right? You'd have a balance sheet, an income statement, a cash flow statement. Governments have many different statements. Why? Because they need to prepare each set under different bases of accounting. Okay? And notes to financial statement, I think you understand what they include. And we'll talk about RSI. These are the basic items that are required, the minimum basic. And then when you publish the full report, you are required to complement that. If you don't get this now, don't be concerned, because that's what this course is about. We're going to be talking about this. Right now, I'm giving you a very top-level view. I don't want you to get lost in the details yet. Later on, maybe, but not right now, okay? Because I want to make this as simple as possible. This thing can get pretty complicated. Our objective is to make things simple, not complicated, as we go through this course, okay? Okay, so by the way, who's interested in looking at government financial statements? I know somebody is thinking, geez, if I don't have, if I can't sleep at night, I'd get up and look at those statements. No, right? Okay, but what do you think? Who might be interested in looking at government financial statements? Give me some answers. Who might be interested? Taxpayer, yeah, they're usually the first one. Who else? Yeah. Government auditors, yep. Who else? Clarify that. Yes, good. Creditors, good. Excellent. Yep.
Lobbyists.
Yeah, lobbyists, people who have an interest in seeing what's going on. Credit rating agencies, right? Now, I'm not going to give you this answer. I want you to think about this. If you were a taxpayer, would your interest be the same as his interest as a creditor in the government? You're a taxpayer. So as a taxpayer, what do you want to see? Lower taxes, right? He's a creditor. What's his interest?